Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here with the Mountain Weather Information Service Issue Planning Outlook updated on Wednesday the 8th of January. It's a classic roller coaster of weather systems coming in from the Atlantic over the next week to 10 days. Further bouts of upland gales and storm force winds. Temperatures will be varied, but trending downwards to become more generally sub-zero across the higher mountains and even to lower levels at times more often as we go through into next week. Frequent areas of rain and upland snow becoming common and accumulating across the mountains with time. We'll run through the temperature sequence first of all at 850 millibars, this then corresponding to the higher tops in Scotland, the general feel for the air mass as well. Through Thursday, a complicated situation with a little tongue of a warm sector across England and Wales, but generally cold air hangs on across Scotland and much of northern England for that matter within the cold air mass that has been around during Wednesday daytime today. We stay on the colder side of things through into Friday with a frost first thing in the morning in many of the valleys and the glens, and staying sub-zero much of the day, but later on we get a warm front move in from the Atlantic and temperatures will tend to rise as we head onwards into Friday evening and night, briefly above zero even to higher tops in Scotland through into Saturday as the next warm sector on a southwesterly conveyor belt is in. A cold front then comes southwards gradually later Saturday onwards into Sunday, and much colder air then returns across the mountains through the second half of the weekend, freezing levels dropping markedly to 500-600 metres or even lower at times across Scotland. Staying chilly into the start of the new week, the next attempt of a warm sector tries to get in but doesn't make much progress, and that may well be the theme of the week, that we stay over several days ahead, particularly in Scotland, sub-zero across the mountains for a good run of days. So it should give the chance for some snow to build up across the higher mountains once again. The absolute detail of who gets the most on any individual day open to question naturally at this stage. Let's run through the details for the shorter range first of all, and a real tangle for Thursday. A double-headed area of low pressure basically, multiple frontal systems rotating their way northeastwards. Nothing unusual about that, but it just creates some forecasting headaches for those of us trying to pick the bones out of the detail. Basically it's a zone of some snow across the hills of northern England and the south and southeast of Scotland that rotates eastwards off into the North Sea during Thursday morning. The next wraparound of a front more or less misses most places, may bring some heavy rain to the far south of Wales though as Thursday goes on. Away from those areas, for the north and the west of Scotland, away from all that action, largely dry with not too much wind, with just slack pressure in place through Thursday. Bit of a trough, occluded front out toward the west, may just bring a few showers into Thursday night to western Scotland, some snow and some hail for a time on the coastal hills. That's more or less all gone though by Friday daytime, and a ridge of high pressure will have built overnight into Friday, but the next front's waiting in the wings with southwesterlies strengthening to gale or severe gale force progressively through the day on Friday, soonest across the west and northwest of Scotland. Most places dry over a good many hours, but the idea of some rain preceded by some snow coming into the West Highlands and the Northwest Highlands as time goes on will all set in for heavy rain widely onwards into Friday night. And heading into the weekend, this is Saturday, not a particularly pretty picture. It's a strong southwesterly conveyor belt. The close proximity of the isobars, no surprises then that it's going to be a stormy day across the mountains, a really unpleasant one, and one to think twice about heading up onto higher terrain. Incessant heavy rainfall as well across western mountains, starting off in Scotland. That may well spread increasingly to northwest England, into the Lake District, across West Wales too as Saturday goes on, as that whole front just moves its way slowly southwards. On the back edge of the front, turning to snow as temperatures drop across the Scottish Munros, and that will increasingly drop to lower levels by Saturday evening and night as clusters of snow showers come in from the west. By the time we reach Sunday, that cold front has cleared southeastwards and we're all into a cold westerly airstream. A big change of air mass then back to a polar maritime for Sunday. Showers of snow and hail rattling in frequently off the Atlantic into Scotland. Fewest of them toward the eastern side of the Highlands, but they'll be almost constant across more western mountains. Again, it's a windy day, severe wind chill. Temperatures will have come down considerably compared to Saturday. It's a different sort of day. It doesn't necessarily make it a better day. It's just a colder one and at least a chance for some snow to start to build up on the hills, focused on western Scotland. The general weather story doesn't get much more clever into the start of next week. It's still a windy picture into Monday, the risk of gales or severe gales wrapped around the next low that's making progress in from the Atlantic. Notice with this one, the warm sector that lies just south of Ireland, that's not as extensive as the previous warm sector that was around on Saturday. And that's crucial then as to what happens in the remainder of next week. If we can stay on the colder side of these weather systems, any incoming lows may well track through and stay within the cold air mass, and that will produce more extensive periods of upland snow. Focused on Scotland, may well be more widespread at times, but that's just a subtle change of pattern compared to where we've been in these early days of 2020. So we step back and look at the bigger picture into next week, and we can see a lot of cold air that's existing across the North Atlantic from the south of Greenland towards Iceland and lying to the west of Ireland as we start the week. And it's all of that chilly air that more or less is likely to dominate over a few days. General zones of quite deep low pressure in existence to our northwest, with secondary lows perhaps rotating around that general low to the north, which will complicate the absolute detail through the middle of the week. But I suspect for a few days at least, generally cold westerly winds will dominate, at times still gale force, but with most precipitation falling across the mountains of snow, at times some hail, and freezing levels around the 600 to 800 metre mark, maybe occasionally a bit lower, especially across Scotland. Now, as the week goes on, it may be that eventually higher pressure begins to build back again from the south, and initially that may hang on to chilly air within that zone of high pressure. I just wonder though, as we go toward the following weekend, so we're running towards say about the 18th, 19th of January, whether things do eventually go back milder as a southwesterly tries to come back in. So still a struggle to really get winter conditions to fully bed themselves in for a long time. So some properly wintry conditions returning to the mountains over the next week to 10 days, but not really that many good days in there, with a generally unsettled pattern prevailing, at times severe conditions, particularly in terms of wind, and that's the story for this weekend for sure. Next week then we'll watch the details just in terms of whether we can find a useful day in there for you. I'll update the video again on Friday with the outlook for the week ahead. Thanks for watching, bye for now.